Hello, Prêt-à-Template designers. Let's take a look at different templates. When you go to the body section, you'll find a little dog icon. Here you can find different pet templates. There's different breeds of cats and dogs to choose among. Let's take this small Chihuahua template to create a beautiful pet fashion. So Gucci has launched the pet collection aimed at dogs and cats with retro inspiration in its DNA. So I found some pictures on the Gucci website to serve me as a guide, and pet homeware, garments, and pets of different sizes and accessories such as guides, bag carriers, suitcases, and harnesses are some of the products offered in this collection. So I'm using this Chihuahua dog to recreate the same look. I'm going to use only two views to show the most of the information about this design, and I will change the opacity of these layers. Working on the first layer, I'm going to start tracing this template using a pencil. So looking for a color similar to the fur of this dog is something like a creamy white color. So beginning with the face, I'm starting to sketch. Gonna reduce the size of the pen and begin tracing the template. So a little note on this drawing is that there are many ways to illustrate certain things, but there's always more than one way. This time I'm going to try and do a realistic illustration. So that's why I chose pencil, because the roughness of its line will help me to represent the fur on the dog. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to do it. It's just one of the ways. I'm also using this crop tool to mirror the piece of my drawing to the other side, not having to sketch both sides. So I'm trying to figure out how much of the space is going to be covered with the shirt. If you want to call it that, it's probably more like a suitcase. So I'm trying to figure out how much space is going to be covered with a shirt. I'm not sure that is the right name, but I'm going to only trace the parts of the dog which aren't covered. But if you feel that you will create more than one design, you can as well trace the entire dog, because you can leave it on one layer, fully color it, and then on the separate layer create different designs that maybe cover different amount of areas, different parts of the areas on the dog. In that case, it's best to actually finish the entire dog illustration and keep it on a separate layer. But for me, since I'm going to only use it once, I'll probably just trace the entire outfit and the dog on the same layer, and I'm going to as well trace each part in the native color, which means I'm going to trace the dog part in this creamy color. I'm going to trace the shirt in white and the hat in red. That's why I'm only tracing now the parts that are going to be uncovered. So now I'm going to switch color to red to add the head part. So I'm just trying to change the shape because I feel it looks a bit flat. I want it to have more volume at the top, like the picture to look more like a strawberry. So now there's a second layer under the layer with outline, and in order for me to see the outline, I have to keep this layer under. I am going to start coloring, and my idea is that I will use different tools with soft edges, for example the watercolor brush that I'm using right now, and there are different pencils, and there's that one tool that I'm not really sure, it's like a very broad marker with a soft edge. So different tools that you can swatch and try. The best working ones will be those to have soft edges for the fur. So that's what I'm starting with. I'm just adding really light washes. And what it does as well is that it allows me to have not such a uniform color and super soft edge. And it's always going to look more natural rather than having to fill in with one solid color. But again, that depends on the style of illustration that you want to achieve. And for realistic drawing, this is going to be a useful technique. So now that I'm done with fur, I am just going to color the nose pretty much using the same technique and add some beautiful eye drawings to it to finish the dog. So there's one small trick that I use to make the eyes more shiny, although you can't really see that on the picture. You add a lighter color at the bottom part like this, lighter and brighter color, and it makes as if they are reflecting the surroundings, because the top part of the lid is going to be kind of in shadow. Although this dog has a really how to say it, protruding eyes. But it gives them a bit more life when you do that, as well as these highlights in the different directions, because since the eye has so much like volume, it comes out, it catches the light from all different sides, and it makes it much more alive and attractive. I used to create these little black dots, instead of actually pointing them with dots, I use cross hatching on a darker patch, so it creates this interesting effect. What I want to do is to add a little bit of detail to the fur. I'm going to the library and going to search for a fur pattern, which I know is there. Yeah, this is the one. This is how it looks like, and I'm going to use it with some color, like a light color, to add a bit of a furry feel to some parts of the dog. So this is it. I'm adding one more layer and I'm going to hide them right now to have more space for drawing. So I'm going to take this fat marker, which I was talking about, that has this soft, beautiful edge. And I'm going to cover basically the entire surface of the head. What I love about it is that it creates the certain depth, and it also has this beautiful edge that a crochet thing would have, like a sweater or this beautiful crochet hat. So I don't need to work on the edge. It creates itself with the use of this tool. All I have to do now is add a little bit of a pattern to reveal the quality of this material, and it's going to look amazing, like really quick. So now I'm using a pencil to add this crochet pattern, and I'm taking a slightly darker color. You can do what I do, or you can as well color pick it directly from the picture. You can take the red color from one of the standard palettes and just drag these toggle to get a darker version of that same red. So there's like a lot of ways to do it. And I'm going to add a bit of a texture to show that there's a certain pattern. And I think after that it's going to look finished and amazing. I'm adding one more layer right now, a separate one for the green part, just so that I don't disrupt the red part that I've done before. And the technique is pretty much the same. I will use one color for the entire surface, and this time I'm using a little bit different of a marker just because I need a smaller tool size to get into all these thinner, smaller details. And after that I will take a pen or something like that to create a pattern as well. The material of this part is a little bit more smooth. It's not that much fuzzy, so that will help me to depict that feature as well. So adding a little shadow helped me to separate both of them. And now it's time to move to the shirt. But first I'll add some whiskers. That's something I forgot to do. Alright, so I'm going to add yet one more layer for the shirt and drag it under the outline. So far I have been merging my layers just because I feel that will help me to get less confused with my illustration. However, depending on the purposes, you can have them separate if you feel that you might come back to do some changes anytime. It's best to have them separate so you can edit them with the least disruption to the final illustration and to the work that you've done already. Because I'm pretty confident that I'm not going to need that, I don't, so I just merge them. But keep in mind that that's a really great way if you're just learning, or if you feel that the editing is going to take place. Definitely keep them separate. It's just going to cause less frustration with the editing process. So I'm filling in the entire space with this very light gray color, and the reason I do that is because I have a white background, so I want it to stand out a little bit. I don't want to keep it just white, but I will take a white watercolor brush and hopefully create some volume by adding light in the middle. So it's going to have white parts, but at the same time I'm going to make it detached from the background, so kind of, you know, not adding shadows, but like building light on top of this color, considering being a shadow. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just a fast way to do that. So here I'm taking this watercolor brush and just adding some light in the center to hopefully create the volume for the body of the dog. And that's pretty much it, really fast. But I also need stripes, so I'm adding one more layer on top of the drawing, and I will take a flat marker and I'm gonna need a red color. So taking this picture as a reference, I'm going to take a smaller size to get a thinner line that's going to look approximately the same, and just add these lines. And what I actually do here is that I am not bothered with the length of the line, because I'm working on a separate layer. I can always come back and erase the parts that come out of the outline. And what I love about it is that by swiping left and right a couple of times, I can get a perfect saturation difference. So if I just had to draw flat red lines, they would not follow the shape. You know, they wouldn't have light and dark. But by using this tool, I actually can do that in one swipe. So I'm just saturating the color towards the front and let it kind of set in and fade away towards the sides. And that would just look much more lively and much more realistic, rather than having them completely flat. So I'm just taking eraser and getting rid of everything I don't need. One of the things that I love about illustration is that there's so many ways and so many different techniques that you can develop. And by being conscious of that, you can always have this mindset of exploring new tools and new ways to tackle the tasks that you want to complete and achieve them in the most efficient and interesting way. So I love to experiment with different tools and get a beautiful result with the least amount of effort, you know, to have fun while doing it, as opposed to have a tedious process. And these tools are so intuitive. They're actually like real tools that you don't need to know that much. You can just learn them in a few minutes, practice them, and achieve an amazing result. Alright, so far so good. The only thing I have left to do is to add this green ream on the short, and to add the logo. So that's what I'm gonna do. I will pretty much take this opaque marker to fill it in. Of course, you can always add beautiful line and shadow and stitching, and all of that is just a way to develop your illustration to the level of detail that you find necessary. I'm going to do it quicker so that I can finish the illustration and show you the result you can achieve in 1 hour. But you can always add more to it, more detail, to make it look almost photorealistic. Okay, so now that it's done, the only thing really left to be finished is the logo. I'm adding one more layer right on top, and I'm going to sketch this logo. And I'm gonna take a thin pen to be more precise. It doesn't really matter which color you use as long as it stands out. You can always delete this layer later. So I am just really sketching, really trying to find the size and the detail of it, and to see if I can get the same looking logo with my drawing. So the reason I took one more layer is because if you start sketching right on top of your stripes, every time you will make a mistake, you'll have to undo it, to press the undo button. But if you understand, let's say after a long time of sketching, that you're not happy with it, you feel it's too big or too small, you'll have to basically erase the whole thing, find a way around to take it back to where it was, and it's going to be frustrating. So every time you're adding a new element that you're just trying, or you don't want to disturb the drawing that you had before, just make sure you add one more layer. It's a very good practice, and start every step from the new layer. You can always merge them after all. So now that I'm happy with the size and the shape, I'm just taking this black color to outline it, and then I'll start filling in the separate colors. So now it's time to experiment and add this crochet effect and try to make it realistic. What I'm going to do is just take a pencil with a darker green and sketch it with some hatching over the green that I've done last time, just because it has to follow the shape of these little leaves. I will try to recreate that effect. As for strawberry, I have another technique in mind. I want to go to the pattern library. Because the strawberry is flat, it doesn't have this separate leaves or anything, it just has this overall stitching like embroidery pattern. I want to find something that will do the job without me actually hatching. I love this one, and I'll try another one as well. I want to find a pattern that will instantly give me this effect without having to hatch it. This looks pretty good, I think, but the pattern seems to be too big. So what I'm going to do is I'll just swatch it here and see. Yeah, it looks good. So I'm going to take one more layer, separate layer, and swatch it from the side, kind of like a big patch of it, taking into consideration that when I crop it, I can zoom it in and make it smaller and feed the whole area of the strawberry. Okay, something went wrong, so I'm going to do that again. I accidentally pressed the done button, which basically tells that the illustration is done. So yeah, I'm going to zoom it out, press apply, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to crop this same pattern already zoomed out and just shift it slightly to like make it more busy, you know. And I did that twice. I'm gonna get rid of these big patch, and I have to get rid of everything that is outside of the strawberry borderline. And honestly, if you will zoom out and look at this red part, it will honestly look like the embroidery. It will look very beautiful. And how easy is that? It's just to explore different ways to apply different techniques to get a beautifully made illustration. It looks so good. So only the white part and the logo is left to be done. I'm merging some layers that I am sure turned out good, and I will just finish this part. So now that I've adding the final touches, I think the illustration looks good. I really hope you liked it and learned something new. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Thank you.